Hi, everyone. Welcome back to NoFreeDrinks. This is Brock. Today, we're going to talk about how to become a better lover. And so kind of the way we came up with this episode, so we came across a study that was published earlier this year that pretty much surveyed over 50,000 U.S. adults and what percentage of the time did they orgasm. So they broke this down both by gender and by sexual preference. So about 95% of heterosexual men said that they orgasm. About 89% of gay men said that they orgasm. And about 88% of bisexual men said that they orgasm. So pretty much about 9 in 10 men, regardless of sexual preference or orientation, orgasm. Now, the numbers for women kind of drop off. So for lesbian women, it's about 86%. Which is not too much of a drop off, but now here's what the drop is. Only 66% of bisexual women said that they have orgasms, and slightly less, 65% of heterosexual women said that they orgasm.
That's pretty awful. I mean, I didn't even know that this study was out there, but in my own experience, I've pretty much fitted with these stats. So I would say that I spent 4 years fucking before I actually even discovered that I could have a clitoral orgasm.
God damn. What the fuck?
I mean, I've always loved sex. I said that I started having sex at a very young age. I was 16 when I lost my virginity. And I don't even remember how many guys I'd been with at that point, but it had been at least more than 2. And for the first time, I actually experienced an orgasm when a guy was eating me out.
How was it?
It was amazing. I squirted all over his face.
Hey,
you gotta give a warning. You gotta like tap him on the head. Like
I didn't even know it was happening. I was just like, oh, this feels better than normal.
About to hit you with this Niagara. Watch out.
Oh, Jesus. You scored all over that fool. Oh,
but
man.
it wasn't until then that I actually realized what I was missing out on. So there had been a good amount of guys that I'd been having sex with. And it wasn't like it was the first time I'd been gone down on. Like, guys have always gone down on me. It's one of my favorite things. I've had, different positions that I've tried by that point, like hitting it from the back, hitting it from the side, being on top. So I just really didn't even know that it wasn't being done right. And for the longest time, I always thought that it was just normal that women just didn't come as much as men did, because every single guy that I'd slept with obviously had come. But it just shows that experience is really more of what's important if you're really trying to be a better lover. And I think it's extremely important as a topic because so many times I think men are oblivious to the fact that they're not pleasing women. And you can see that in the stats because the lesbian women are getting off all the fucking time.
They know the body. They know the female body.
So that's insane. So just based off of these stats, I think that it'll be really, really helpful for us to talk about this. But so I think as far as how we can give advice, we thought through this and we think that there's 3 major areas where you as an individual, whether you're a man or a woman, could work on to become a better lover. And for sure, I think the first one is not being selfish when it comes to being with somebody else.
Yeah, for real. I think that makes it that's one of the main things. Don't be selfish. I've been selfish in the beginning because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. That's that whole watching too many pornos thing. So yeah, you're not supposed to jump off the chick after you're about to come and busting out her face. That's not how any of this shit works. So yeah, Lina D, you definitely hit on a point. Like, don't be selfish.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. I'd probably say it wasn't until probably a couple years after college where I finally started caring if the
a couple years after college. How many years have you been fucking around for?
At that point, like 6 years.
Oh my
God. That porno lifestyle.
That explains my 4 years without an orgasm.
I mean, but it goes back to the study because pretty much I'm going to orgasm without even trying. And then you're young, so like, you don't care. At that point, I had only had one serious relationship.
Well, you got to know you can't wail on the vagina for the whole.
I didn't say wailing, but
25 minutes at a time.
But I'm also
that's gonna happen.
But I'm also not like conscious or even like caring like if like I'm not saying they don't come, but I'm not like worried if they do or don't. Like that's just not even in
you. That's not even in your atmosphere.
Yeah, that's not even in purview. Like I'm like, I got mine. Give you another couple minutes before I go limp. All right, but but yeah, I think like not being selfish is a huge one. And then once I stopped being selfish, I'm like, oh, this is kind of good. I feel like the shit. Like you came a couple times. Like, yeah,
life is good when you know the partner, getting off. So
I guess when it comes to like that ticking point, because you both said that you were very focused on yourselves before you actually started working on your craft of being like this sexual like prowess and desirable to women, that women were actually enjoying having sex with you. I guess what switched you off? Like what made you start thinking about the other person, and what's some advice that you would give to our listeners out there that are maybe in that selfish state right now?
I think part of it was just getting older, just being mindful of the other person. Slightly more serious sexual partners. It's not like random hookups after a frat party. Also, kind of like you mentioned, like just it's a craft. So like you want like your name to be synonymous with like, oh, he put it down on me. Oh, his tongue game is strong. Like you want like that good. You want a referral. So like, all right, cool. Like he knows what he's doing, and like I don't know. Don't really believe in karma, but we'll say in this case I do. Like some good karma, so you get some new cheeks down the line.
Yeah,
but yeah,
definitely. You throw some good karma out there, you're gonna get it back. I believe that. But at the same token, though, I think one of the things for me that kind of was like that game changer. I want to say game changer, but game changer is that when look through these stupid ass magazines. I guess Cosmo was good for one thing, because like this was at one point where Cosmo was coming out. Like I guess every year at that point, I'm 20. This is 20 years old at this point. They come out with these new Kama Sutra moves and shit like that, and all kinds of stuff. While like I'm not the biggest fan of I'm not the biggest fan of Cosmo. I did, when I was reading through the articles or whatever, they did go through like a oral Kama Sutra kind of thing. I was like, oh, this shit is nice. I should try that out. And I should try this out. And then like almost like instantly, like it was just like she went from, being like, it was okay to like, oh, wow, this was amazing. Like to a point where I almost got questioned, like if I was doing something with somebody else. So
oh, shit. Wait, so the one time where being good almost got you in trouble.
Yeah. So she's like, well, who's teaching you? What the fuck is all this new shit? I'm like, a Cosmo article? She's like, no, that's bullshit.
Wow.
Who you fucking around?
and then yeah, which is crazy, but kind of makes sense. We touched upon it a couple of times. Like you brought up oral Kama Sutra. Lina D, you also brought that up. And then another study that came out recently is as many as 80% of women have difficulty orgasming just from vaginal intercourse. So oral game has to be on point. Like has to be on point.
It's a must. I've actually gone on dates with guys and I've asked them if they go down on girls, because there was a point in college when guys just didn't believe in going down on women. They only wanted to get sucked off.
I didn't. Yeah, I was very one-sided.
Yeah.
And I thought that was bullshit. So this would be a part of my questions whenever I met a guy that I thought was attractive and I wanted to have sex with him. I was like, oh, so do you go down on women? And there were a few men that said no, like I don't believe in that. And then I was like, oh well, I don't believe in fucking you, so we should probably end this.
Shit. God. That's harsh as fuck.
I mean, it's harsh as fuck to say you're not going to eat my pussy out.
That's true as well too. That's just very equally true too.
So if you're not going to eat my pussy out, I'm not going to waste my time.
You gotta lick it before you stick it.
I mean, for me, that's like the highlight of having sex, is having someone go down on you.
That's probably one of my favorite parts too. I actually enjoy that now. Like, so I went like a complete 180. I went from like not giving a fuck to like almost like every time now, like I'll go down on the chick, and it's pretty enjoyable. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, for me, it's like the first couple of times I won't do the go down on her. Just I don't know, just kind of like because my tongue game is strong, so like it's just like I just try to avoid it. I like do everything else but that, except and the grocery thing too. That's another whole nother topic. But like I try to stay away from it because it's just like once it happens, it's almost like, oh fuck, like what do I do now? Which is like, oh, when are you gonna come over to do XYZ? Like we can go hang out, we can go to the bar.
They get dick
like,
drunk.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, Wesley, you do got that dick drunk game though.
I don't know.
It's kept me around for a long ass time.
Wesley try to act all shy and nice. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I reserve the right to comment on this one.
It's true though, but I mean, I think even as a man or a woman, you should always leave a lasting impression on your sexual partner. It's something that it'll be like, at least for me, it's a big pride thing. So I always want to put it down. I want to like surprise the guy, teach him some new tricks.
Hey.
And I think that's going back to the not being selfish. I've never been a selfish lover, obviously, because I didn't come for 4 fucking years. But that's at least has always been my motto. And I wonder if that's what causes this big disparity between the rate that men come and the rate that women come, and why so many women suffer from the inability to actually orgasm. I think it's because women sometimes focus so much on giving to their partner, and sometimes there might be some sort of disconnect in communicating what they really want and what actually turns them on. So maybe like it's actually a combination of these two, and I think we can get into this as well. It's like you can't really please your partner if you don't know
what the fuck you're doing.
What you're doing, but then it's even about like your anatomy. So like, and I think even though everybody has technically the same human body, everybody has different hot spots. So you almost have to discover that every single time when you're with somebody new.
Right.
And I think the other piece too is like not being shy about communicating what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. I feel like, I wouldn't say looking back, but I feel like whenever I hear women say that they aren't satisfied or whatever, and it's weird because I do have a lot of friends who are women. I don't like to say girlfriends because that has a different connotation, but whatever. But I always ask the question, like, did you tell him that's what you like? Do you do this? Do you like go through like this whole teaching kind of thing? I'm the teacher, you're the student or whatever. Like, no, I just, they just deal with it. Like they love the person for like years and stuff, and not realizing like, hey, they're not really having great sex because they're either boring or the partner doesn't take it too seriously, or I think it's just a bunch of different things. But I think that when, if men are vocal about what they want, I think women should be as well, especially if they're in a relationship. I don't know about the one night stand thing, because that's like,
yeah, you're not making no demands.
You're not making no demands. It's just like, that's like a best effort thing. He could be drunk. He could not be drunk. She could be drunk. She could be not drunk. It won't matter. But
see, I disagree with you on not being vocal about it, even if it is a one night stand, because that's still a fucking dick that you're sitting on. So you need to make the experience worthwhile. And it brings me to a good point where I've actually kicked men out of my room because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
I'm sorry. It's just funny.
And then which is like the slight tangent, which is like the gift and the curse of like living by yourself, which is like women get like real comfortable, like, oh, I'm just going to stay here after. I'm like, no, you're not. Come up with some excuse. I gotta go to the gym right now. It's 11 p.m. I gotta go to the gym right now. Like, just come up with some excuse.
So I guess what you're like, even with what you said, that okay, you'll have sex, and if it's a one night stand, whatever, it's a one time thing. So like, as a guy, are you saying that you don't ask for specific things?
No,
in
I
don't. In that specific interaction.
I don't ask for specific things, and I don't grant specific things. Like, this is just
wham bam, thank you, man.
Yeah, the basics. But that's more of like a one night stand. I meet you out that night versus like we went on like an actual date, whether through a friend or through a dating app. So I'm talking more like, it's like 12:30 a.m. We're at the bar chilling, whatever. We're on the dance floor. We're talking. We meet up then, and then we head back to my place or your place. I think in that scenario, yes. But like if we more go through like more the traditional dating lines, and maybe. But no, if I just met you that night, nah.
But then how does that fit into your whole referrals thing?
Because, those one night stands are the biggest ones.
Probably never gonna see that person ever again.
You sure about that? It's New York City.
I know you probably you run into
places. Like, I know you do run into a whole bunch of people. You're like, oh fuck.
I know it's the most annoying thing ever. But I think that's the one that doesn't happen too often now. Like nowadays, I feel as though everyone's on a dating app, so that spontaneous just meeting them out doesn't happen as much as when I was younger. So I don't think it happens as much. But yeah, I don't.
See, and that's where I would say if you're younger and you're listening to what we're saying, I would, as my perspective, it is to advocate for what you like as the woman or as the man. And depending on like the comfort level. Because I mean, sometimes you have one night stands where you guys have really been feeling each other and there's probably been a little bit deeper conversation. Whereas sometimes you have like the sloppy drunkenness hookup.
Which is what I was more referring to.
But even then, if you're conscious enough to say something, you should. At least that's my perspective. Because then it's like, what was the point of me sleeping with you if it was just disgusting? Like I would have been better with my vibrator.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's
so like I think it really goes back to what you were saying about reputation. It's like every encounter you should treat as it was like the last time you were fucking. And like they were actually going to publish that story in your obituary.
Yeah, see, that's how I attack that one.
I'm not saying it's still going to be bananas, but you're not going to make a request. I'm sorry, you're not making a request.
Oh, my request is always one request: mushroom stamps. So.
Wait, what?
I request mushroom stamps. Pow, one on the forehead.
Anoint thee.
Another thing is you mentioned was communication. I will share a story where communication has gone south.
Oh man,
real fast.
Oh, but before you get to that, you would be the person that got kicked out of my apartment.
Oh shit!
If I can't make requests and you ain't doing shit right, you got.
First of all, I'm doing shit right at this point in life in the last whatever, say 5-ish years. What type of request we talking about?
So if a guy, because guys do this, like they won't ask you to give them head, but they'll just like slap you in the face with their dick.
What?
That's kind of rude.
I mean, I asked before I mushroom stamp. Like, what?
No. To get head. Like guys are suggestive and they'll try to push your head down towards like their crotch.
That really happens?
You guys don't do like that's happened to me a few times with men.
I've done a couple times.
I let things naturally take the course of action because I know, like I said, the first couple of times I do not eat girls out because I know what's going to happen. This tongue game is super strong here. I know what's going to happen, so I don't do it. But here's the thing, though. Like, I don't expect anything. So if a girl wants to, suck on it or whatever, I'm cool with that. But you got this 3-day window here. So this 3-session window. No.
All right, so what are you requesting then, Lina D?
So what I'm saying is if a dude has the nerve to push my head down to give him head, what I've learned to do after the first time that a dude did that and I gave him head and then he refused to go down on me,
stiff arm his ass.
No, is that there. I ask. So if it's a one night stand kind of encounter, if I don't know him that well and we haven't had the opportunity to have this conversation, because my first preference is to have a conversation about it, because I love talking about sex. So like I don't mind talking about that during a date. But if it hasn't come up organically through conversation and he's suggesting and like kind of like leading me to give him head, I have flat out asked like the person, like, are you planning to return the favor after?
Oh yeah, I'm already doing
shit,
that.
yeah.
I already said that's a given.
Most definitely.
So
right,
I'm like,
but what
what
I'm
else
saying,
outside
but
of
that's a request. Like if you're expecting me to go
Okay,
down
that's
on
fair.
you the first time around, you have to go down on me.
There you
Perfectly
go.
And
fair.
if you say no, your ass is leaving my bedroom.
That's
And I've
perfectly
done
fair.
that many times with dudes. And they're like, well, yo, like, what the hell? We're already here. And I was like, I don't care. You're not going down on me. I'm not fucking you. Get out. I'm just very clear with my expectations.
As he should be.
So I think those are the types of requests that I'm referring to, and that I'm also encouraging women to be more vocal about what it is that they enjoy and what they're looking for in every sexual encounter.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, those are
I agree
reasonable
with that.
requests.
That is very
I
reasonable.
thought he was gonna like try to tie me up and blindfold me. I'm like, what type of request? Like, I brought this bag with me. Like, whoa, where this bag come from? Those are very reasonable requests. That's
or a
fine.
sex dungeon
Yeah.
she has hiding in her basement.
Oh shit.
Like, it's not an apartment building. What is what is this?
What is this fucking sorcery? All right, let me get to the story. So this is where communication can go south, guys. I recommend that you never do this. Matter of fact, after the story, you'll be like, you're wild as fuck, you're savage. But keep this in mind. This is 19. I'm 19. I'm 20 years old. Actually, I was 19 years old now that I remember. I was 19 years old for this one. So yeah. So this is how the story goes. It's going to be a very short story, but you'll learn a valuable lesson out of this. So we're going to call this chick Country Vicky. Yeah, that thing's good.
Country Vicky. This is first.
Vicky. Yeah, this is a first. So we were in the same class together. I forget what the class was, but she didn't show up one day. But we had been talking that whole week or whatever. So I knew where she was living at. So I went to just go see her, see how she was doing, because it was just random. Like, I saw her the night before. I didn't see her the next day. And we were supposed to meet up to do some shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? So I go in and I go to her room, I believe, after I was texting her on her phone or whatever. So go into the room, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Blah, 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 this, that, whatever. So as things are starting to unfold, we start having sex. I'm pounding it out for 15 minutes. Boom, 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 boom. Now, keep this in mind. You're in a missionary position for like 15, 20 minutes. Your hands start to hurt a little bit.
It's a workout.
I'm in my fat burning zone at this point. I'm sweating fucking bullets and shit. So I'm like, yo, like, how about you like get on top? And she's a little bigger girl. And she's like, no, I don't want to be on top, blah, blah, blah. I was like, why don't you want to get on top? Is it because like you're uncomfortable because you're big? She was like, what? You called me fat? I was like, no, I just thought you were uncomfortable getting on top because you were big. We can do it doggy style.
Yeah.
She's like, no. She put on her clothes immediately. The vagina got dry that fast, fellas. just as quick as it got wet, it got that dry.
Close
like,
to business.
I think you need to leave now. I was like, oh, fuck.
Ah, damn. Yeah, there would have been better ways for you to say that.
Yeah, but I didn't. Yeah, I was a jackass.
So, Westley, today, how would you make that request?
Shit. You put me on the spot?
Yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't even make the request. I actually would switch over into another position that has nothing to do with her weight, like doggy style. I don't have to pick you up. You don't have to pick me up. You know, we're both kind of like disconnected a little bit. There's no weight involved. All the weight's on the knees or whatever. I can take all that weight. Don't think the way I think some of you guys are thinking. It's kind of funny when I said it, but it's all right. So it's all good. Like, I would make a different request for a different position because I know, no, I'm not making that statement. I'm not making that statement. That's how I make the request. Just, let's do doggy style instead of, on top. That's my favorite position when a girl's on top.
I think that's everyone's favorite position.
She does like the little whine and shit like that. It just like, there's something about that just makes the dick explode. when you do it right, don't matter if you're big or small, it doesn't matter.
I'm just about to say that. Like, it's a big if.
It's just
if you do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right, you don't have to be the fastest rider. You don't have to be like, you just got to know how to like really whine on the dick, and like there's something about it.
It's like a twerk session a little
like,
bit.
I just something about it. It's just, you know what? Let me stop going into more depth in this one. But I hope you guys learned a lesson from this one. Don't ask a big girl flat out uncomfortable ass questions. I'm savage for that shit.
Yeah, you phrase that shit all wrong.
Yeah. I learned that moment never to do that ever again. So yeah.
So the way that if I was a dude or being a woman, what I would have loved to hear. And so this is a suggestion. It could work. It could not work. It depends on the person.
Okay.
But I would have said, hey, like, why don't we try a new position? We haven't done this before. I'd love to have you on top of me.
Yeah, you don't have to say why. That's where you fucked up. You said,
well, she asked me. I was like,
that's the wrong
But
why.
then if it comes up why, you just stroke her ego a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, your tits are amazing. I want to see them bounce up and down on my face.
Hey.
Like, that's what you got to say. You got to say that stuff that, like, kind of, like,
Strokes
flows into the ego a little bit.
Like,
and then she'll, like, even if she feels uncomfortable, she'll be like, all right, like, this is my chance to shine.
She feel all motivated.
My time to
shit.
shine.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow you up.
Yeah. Kitty would have got wetter. But then going back to the body, and, like, one of the things I was thinking about earlier, which is kind of fucked up, but, like, being with one person for a long time, like, you have practice sex-wise, but you haven't practiced with the same person, and no two bodies are the same.
Yeah,
so,
definitely
like,
not.
Definitely not.
So, like, the erogenous zones from two different people are going to be different. So, like, one person's nipples might be a lot more sensitive than the next, than biting another person's lower lip or their neck or the G-spot or the clit. So, like, not only learning to not be selfish, but just practice.
Yeah.
Safe sex, but just practice. And then, you'll find, like, you have, like, a quick, like, go-to 5 to 10 spots. And then...
Hallelujah.
Yeah. And also, remember, it's not just the dick. You got some fingers.
Mm-hmm.
You got the tongue.
Cup
like
the balls.
You got your face.
You got your face.
Hey.
Yes, ladies, blowjob, the balls. When a chick gets the balls.
And optional mushroom stamps.
No, I mean, the balls are a big thing that it's been surprising how many guys I've slept with that I've been the first person to ever do anything
never
with
get
their
the
balls.
balls. It's so frustrating.
That's frustrating.
When
That's
a chick gets the
frustrating as
balls,
hell.
it's just like, oh, heaven. Like, you are a veteran.
It's like, it's part of the entire package.
I never understood that. Why chicks are afraid of like the coin purse?
Like, it's literally attached. Like,
yeah.
You don't gotta go far. It's literally right next.
So I will say that I think some women have issues with a couple things. So first one for sure is that it can be very hairy. And some women don't want to deal with the hair because of the smell that it comes attached
Fine,
with it.
then I'll shave them nuts.
Fellas, you got Manscaped.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go bald. You got Manscaped.
I balled it before, like on that area.
On the balls, yeah. So that'll be one reason why women aren't turned on by it. I think the other reason, too, is because we've already talked about how finicky women are about penises. So I think that they just think that the balls are even wrinklier and uglier.
So we got asymmetrical penises and wrinkly balls. Like, you guys like drawing pictures out?
I've seen my fair share of penises and their balls that are always with them. So, and I've talked to friends, and those are sometimes their primary concerns.
All right. Let's sidetrack conversation. Like, how do the balls have to look? Since we asked the last episode,
that is a fair question.
How do the balls have to look? I just gotta.
Well, they can't be hairy.
Or heft. Like, is there a particular heft you're looking for?
Well, I always have what I call my favorite form, and my
favorite form.
It can't be. I don't want to make the joke again. Favorite form. I'm so done.
But no, it's true. So, like, what I've actually done with men that I'm not necessarily attracted to their balls is that I've suggested if we could use ice. And I introduce it by saying,
yes, that's also, yes, ladies,
hey.
ice and, yes.
Ice them.
But you have the ice and the blowjob in the mouth?
Well, no. The way that I started is because in my experience, I'm much more adventurous than 50% of the dudes. Actually, I'll say 60% of the dudes I've been with.
Probably more.
So I tend to err on the side of caution. So going back to communication, like I can't just be like, here's my pussy, like do this and that. Like I actually have to be a little bit more tame with it depending on who it is. So the way that I've introduced it is that I said, I really love it when my nipples get hard. Hey. Can we get some ice to play with it? So that he starts playing with me first before we start getting into like what I actually want to do, which is put the ice on his balls so that they kind of get like nice and like firm and then they look like a little bird.
Man, Lina D like had these dudes, they probably like erect right now listening to this shit.
She's probably turning them out like not the same. Yo, them guys are probably like, never had a chick do that to my balls before.
You just gotta play with the balls. You can't ignore them.
Hey.
Yes.
Just how dudes can't ignore essential parts of a woman's anatomy either.
It's very, very important. And another tip as well for the ladies, Kegel exercises.
I always work on my Kegels.
Again, Kegel exercises. I think I've only been with one chick who's done like Kegel exercises regularly, and it is a game changer.
The game changer.
Like, fellas, how you could kind of like make your dick jump, do like little random tricks with it. So Kegel exercises, she can pretty much control her vaginal muscles during sex. So it could be tight, could be super tight, super tight. Like she's just. And it is amazing.
I play around with that shit too. So like if I see that he's like about to come, I'll like pulse it a little bit.
It is so mean. It's so good, but so mean.
Stop. Yeah, pull it out. What kind of stuff is that?
So trust me, ladies, if you want to like take even more control of your man, do some Kegel exercises. It's not only for pregnancy, anything really like.
Yeah.
It helps the sex game.
Hey.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like most women think that Kegel exercises are something to do after you've had a child because doctors actually tell you should do that after having children. But you can be doing it anytime before that.
At work.
And you can do it whenever too because nobody ever knows.
Actually, yeah, you could do it at work. Just have the little thing between your legs at work.
No, you just do it without any assistance.
Yeah, you can have the little...
I mean, there are like little barbells that you could use.
Yeah. But what Lina D tells me, she's just like, I'm actually doing Kegel exercises right now, and you guys don't even know. Looks like somebody's suffering tonight. So yeah,
there's all these things that you learn along the way, but it takes a matter of like Westley. What I love that you said is that you actually sought out like Cosmo, which is a female publication. Like usually only women read it. Not a lot of dudes go. I don't think any dude would just go and buy that magazine.
No, I bought it because it has sex right in the front of them of the cover. So I was just like, all right, what's this all about? And then
great marketing.
Horny ass 17, 18, 19-year-old. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? I'm like, oh, this what this does? All right, cool.
Yeah,
let's work this out.
That's pretty awesome. So I think you just have to be open-minded to that stuff. That it's practice on and off the bed kind of thing. Like,
yeah, it is. You got to do your research outside of the bedroom as well.
Yeah, man. Like rub on that G spot. Get that come here motion. What you do is that you take your two fingers, stick it in there. And then you like curl it up, and then you right when you feel that little bumpy
you
spot,
can feel it. Like that's the thing. Like you can feel
that, and then you start like rubbing it on a little bit.
I think we should probably also do some deep dives around these, like our body parts, just because I feel that sometimes women don't even understand their own anatomy all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that could be like awesome topics for next episodes that we could do.
Yeah, I agree. We could do that in a future episode.
And then one thing I'd like to mention, I think this really has nothing to do with like anything you could do like position wise or anything like that. Is what I've noticed with a lot of ladies is that they like a man who's a bit more dominant in the bedroom. Not someone who's like super passive aggressive, not super passive aggressive, but just super passive in general. You're laughing.
I was trying to imagine like a passive aggressive guy in the bedroom. That just sounds awful.
Yeah.
Oh, so you won't give me head, huh? Okay.
I'm leaving. Like, all right, cool. Text this next motherfucker.
But yeah, like I've noticed that when I've been more passive, it's happened a lot less than when I was just like more. I wouldn't say aggressive is like too much. I would say exuding a bit more confidence in what's going to happen. Or I've had girls. I've done this one thing and it worked like a charm because I didn't think it was going to work. I was just like, this was a first date. I didn't know the person. I was just like, no matter what happens tonight, we're not having sex.
Wait, what?
I know what you're thinking, right? I know what you're about to say, but
you cop blocked yourself? No.
It happened that night. Don't get me wrong. I did it because, number one, I was just like, I just wanted to put in her head that it wasn't going to happen, just to see what she would do, and like it felt like it was like what do you call that psychology? Reverse psychology. So it was like reverse psychology.
What do you call that psychology?
Oh, shit.
Well, you halfway there.
I was halfway there. So like it was like reverse psychology. She was like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why does he want to have sex with me? Blah, blah, blah. So it was like kind of like an instant kind of like flirtatious thing that she was doing. Like every movement was just like, oh, so you sure you don't want to blah, blah, blah? Are you sure you want to know? Like, no.
That's risky.
Yeah, it is. I was a risky proposal. I pulled it off, though. But that's like the one and only time that I've ever tried it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend
I've never done that shit again. But yeah. But I think it's for like exuding confidence, being coming off as a bit more dominant in like your decision making and stuff like that. That definitely helps.
And I would say for women, it is true that women like confident men in the bedroom, but I think the woman should also be comfortable in leading the man to do the things that she actually wants to engage in the bedroom.
That's true.
Because sometimes I think you expect the man to do everything, but again, like if he's been with the same person for a very long time, or if he's not as experienced, but you didn't know that beforehand,
right?
It could end up to like a pretty bad sex session. But I think that for the most part, you can kind of correct that if you're communicating, if you're giving cues, if you know what you like and you kind of coach them to get there. I know a lot of women will say, oh, I don't want to coach anybody. I don't want to teach anybody. But in a way, it's only to your benefit if you do it.
I actually think that's kind of fun. You could turn that into like some role playing shit where you're like, I'm the teacher and I want you to do this to me and do that to me. And then the guy's like a little student and he's learning about what makes you hot. Like, I don't understand. Like, where did we go bad where, we say, oh, well, I don't like to learn about who I'm with. I just never understood that. That's me personally. But I typically don't take the ego into the bedroom. Typically, I don't do that.
Oh, no, it should be fun for both.
Yeah.
And I will say, as women, don't be afraid to initiate. I feel as though a lot of times as men, like, we feel as though we always have to initiate.
Right.
And it kind of gets old. Like, if I don't care what I'm doing or watching, you can initiate whenever the fuck you want. Like, it could be my favorite TV show. I could be doing some work. Do not be afraid to initiate. Like, like you said, like, communicate, initiate. Like, if you feeling horny, go for it. Like, don't wait for me to initiate. Like, don't operate on my schedule. Like,
right. You don't want to be an Excel spreadsheet on Reddit. Let's put it that way.
Oh shit.
You don't want to be that person. You definitely don't want to be that person. So,
well, that's when like what we're saying has gone completely awry. Like once people lose interest from each other and then it suddenly becomes this tick for tack of like keeping track of how many times you're having sex.
Yeah.
And like getting shut down or not initiating it or having all these excuses.
Those excuses were funny though. And some of them were kind of disgusting too. How you work out and not go to the bathroom and shower and shit. That's some gross ass stuff. And you just went to bed and you wrote that in an Excel spreadsheet. That's embarrassing. Oh, sorry.
Well, the dude was keeping track of it. She was the one that had it as an excuse that she'd gone to the gym and hadn't showered, but then she didn't shower till the next day, which is really gross.
Well, I guess maybe I should, this is another side conversation, but in that particular article, there was a couple times where she said, and I quote, she felt gross. What does that mean in the context of not having your period? Because that was not, and it was like a couple of days, like, and once every week it seemed like it was like, I feel gross.
Well, sometimes women can feel bloated, like if they ate too much of something they shouldn't have been eating, or, I mean, it happens to dudes too, like where you just get gassy.
Right.
So that's the only example I can think about of when you feel gross.
I don't know. I never heard a guy say, nah, babe, can't have sex, feeling bloated.
But that's why I also say that it's borderline excuses as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, she just had different variations of the same bullshit excuse.
Right.
But it's because the communication is broken down. So I think if you ever, and just to tie it back into what we're talking about and being a better lover, sometimes because you're with the same person for such a long time, being the better lover kind of fades away because you either get to a routine or you haven't spiced up your sex life in a couple of, I don't know, months or years. It's very dependent.
Right.
I mean, you and I have kind of gone through this stuff, like where we're just like, oh, we kind of have to hit refresh and we think of new ways to spice it up. I mean, after 11 years.
Just scare ass completely. Just put the fear of God in it.
I don't even know what that means.
Last for a couple years. I'm saying nah.
But it's like you talk about it or you decide to do something differently, but it's communication. And we can probably talk about like our experiences with this in another episode, but it's too much to go into right now.
Definitely.
But it's not letting that communication die. Okay. And it's just saying like, hey, this is what I feel is missing, or you don't eat me out as much as you used to anymore, or I've actually been really wanting to do this, but I've been too shy to say something. Like, it always depends, but you have to like think to yourself, like, what is it that's keeping me away from having sex? When you actually first start out being with someone, you're having sex like rabbits all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So you have to put yourself in that mindset of like, what do you feel is missing? And I think that helps. And that's all, I think that's all part of being a better lover continuously. It doesn't just have to be with different people, but how do you become a better lover with the same person? I think that's also very important.
I agree with that.
But so those are kind of our tips. I think just before we wrap up, just talking about your own sexual reputation, because that's a part of you being a lover or a better lover, or having people kind of like nod off to, yeah, like he knows what he's doing, or like, yeah, I want to keep this guy around a little bit longer. I don't know if guys think the same way about women, if they really know what they're doing. So you're trying to keep them around longer too. Like, how do you guys think about that?
Typically, I don't go full on the first time, and I try to like drag it out a little bit.
So you keep her guessing, keep it coming, kind of thing. Like you always bring something new to the table.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I give most of it all that first impression, so that I get her like coming back to me. But yeah, I think I do make an assessment after the first time. I'm like, all right, do you like stay on the roster as a result of this performance or lack thereof? Which is, oh my god, just please participate. Like nothing worse than
nothing rather than a dead fuck.
Oh man, just fucking laying there.
Yeah.
So,
like, the starfish.
Oh my god,
just,
you're gonna hit my stomach. Oh my god, you're gonna hit my
one
heart.
position. Just like
stop it. That's not even how it works.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, so I think, like average sex, most people fall into that. So whatever, that's neither here nor there. You always remember like your top 5, top 10 of all time, and then your just shitty sex. You
file it away. And never remember
just lost that number. Like,
I just feel there's one other point I'd like to get to is this is for the ladies out there. Please don't fake it. Like, we're going right back to the whole thing of you need to communicate. 2 weeks ago, I heard some crazy stuff. They talking about they fake it about like 30% of the time. I'm sitting there and I got the screw face on like, but how? Like, how does any of this shit work? Like, you're just going to sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm faking my orgasm. How do you fake an orgasm? Do you squirt a little urine at the end? I don't understand how this works. You just like holler to the gods or something that this dick is amazing. It's like 10 inches is going to hit my back out. Like, come on.
So I think that's where most women go wrong. And I've been guilty of faking orgasms as well.
God damn.
But the reason why I faked it is because I tried to no return to actually get it to be pleasurable for me, and it just wasn't working. And at that point, I just didn't even want to have sex anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
And that takes a lot for someone to do to me, because I'm always very, like, I'm more giving. So, like, if he's getting off, like, I'm still turned on. I get turned on by, like, giving head. So I'll do that. Or, like, I'll do different things to just kind of, like, spice it up. But there have been times with a select few guys that I've been with where I have faked it just because I just didn't even want to have sex with them anymore.
I mean, did you have sex with them again after the fakery?
The first one, yeah, because he was like my first boyfriend, and I just never told. Actually, it did come up in conversation that he just came too fucking soon.
That's all of us in the beginning.
Yeah, got to get them uber sensitive condoms.
We got those, and they still didn't work. So,
oh Lord, we got problems.
But I think that that's one reason why women fake it, but they're doing themselves a disservice, because it's better for you to say, hey, this isn't doing anything for me, or like, hey, can we try something different? Or like, I don't know, just like whatever your personality is, just kind of infuse that and just make it known that whatever is happening isn't really making you feel good. So I think most men would go out of their way to correct it. But if they don't know that you didn't like it,
keep doing the same shit.
And if you just fake orgasmed all the time, like, they're just going to keep doing the same shit, and then it's never going to get better.
I mean, what would you give advice to, what kind of advice would you give to a person who's been in a relationship, 2-3 years, and they still have like these issues where they have to fake orgasms? What would you say to that person?
I would say stop faking them.
Hey.
Just like stop. And I would say that whenever he goes to initiate sex, or actually flip the script a little bit, you initiate sex the way that you would want to initiate sex.
Right.
So if getting eaten out is your thing, then just be like, oh, so, babe, I have dinner for you tonight. And then just kind of like do something sexy and like, I don't know, like just drop your pants and you have no underwear on.
There
and
you
like,
go.
Just do something sexy to spice it up. It's not, you're in a relationship with them. Like, you shouldn't be shy to ask them for sex or to ask them to eat you out. That's or true. Whatever it is that you really want.
I agree.
So that's what that would be my advice. If it's technique that is suffering, that's kind of like shame on you for waiting for 3 years to say something, but it's never too late. And I would just recommend that you look at porn together, I've
got a lot of ideas from porn. A lot of it's not realistic, but
yeah, see,
you can filter that shit out.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
There's some leftover, like, I'm gonna try this next time.
Try this out next time.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say. Or even go to like a sex store together and try to like find things that you think would turn you on. But it does take work on behalf of both parties. And sometimes women do have to be careful that the man might actually get his ego hurt. But in the
grand scheme of things, like an ego getting bruised a little bit is, for me, that would be like nothing. I mean, you got to be with this person for a long time. That shouldn't be like the ego thing. I mean, like, yeah, some women like to stroke egos. I think that's one thing you shouldn't even be stroking the ego with, because you got to deal with that.
Well,
forever.
I'll give you an example. So I just remembered that I did have an ex that got upset with me because I had a dildo.
I'm not upset about that.
Right,
yeah,
but
a weird thing, yeah.
So would you give advice to that type of person?
This is the advice that I would give to a person who gets upset about the dildo thing, right? A dildo is a very inanimate object. What you may or may not lack in the dildo size, you make up for because you're an actual person that like has hands and feet and a mouth and all these things. Like,
what you doing with your feet, Westley?
You're about to find out tonight.
Busted.
But what I'm saying is that, like, you bring a certain type of sensuality into, a session, and that can bring people over the top, right? Just because you have a dildo, like, you gotta understand, it's dildo, so it's not like it's a person that can actually thrust in and out. This is a dildo. You got to make sure you doing your thing with one hand with the dildo. And then if you like a dual stimulator, you need the clit too. That's 2 hands right there. Like you ain't got nothing left. You you can't even touch yourself. You can't.
They do have the ones that you can like stick onto the wall. It has a suction cup.
Oh, that's some strong suction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think the guy should like think anything of it. Like as long as you're having just as much sex. Like now, if she's replacing you with the dildo, now that's a problem.
But then that means you got to step your game up because you're not doing something right.
That's pretty pathetic.
But then again, it's the communication thing.
Yeah.
So
then so she's like passive aggressive. Nah, fucking the dildo, not fucking you, and then you're not trying to improve. It's just a.
I mean, I had been women that had like drawers full of toys and condoms and shit like that. That don't hurt me none because you know what? We still doing shit. We still gonna have sex. So, and it's still gonna be just as good. I mean, like if she wants to pull the toy out during the session, hey man, more power to her. That shit ain't gonna bother me. That doesn't faze me one bit.
It's pretty amazing. It's the only way I get TP.
and with that said,
on that note,
please let us know what you thought about the episode.
Sweet babe, Jesus.
Let us know what you thought about our tips. Let us know if you have tips that you'd like to share with us, and if we think it's worthy, we will definitely give you a shout out and put it on. And oh man, and I'm lost my train of thought here on this one.
If you guys have any suggestions or any comments, don't forget that you can use our contact us form on NoFreeDrinks.com. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Thanks, Lina D. All right.
Had to pick up the slack on that one.
Oh, man.
And thanks for joining us today at No Free Drinks. Don't forget that our episodes release every single Wednesday, of course, hump day. But the easiest way to stay in touch with us is to just subscribe to our podcast. And you can find us by searching No Free Drinks on your favorite podcast app. But for my Apple users, show us some love, especially if you love what you're hearing. Rate us and leave us a review. And specifically, if you're a big social media user, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You can find us at _NoFreeDrinks. And in our bio, we have a link where you can easily connect to wherever we're playing our podcast, as well as our other social media platforms. And we hope that you loved today. Thanks for coming. I hope it was good for you too. This is Lina D. Kisses.
This is Wesley. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Hey guys, this is Brock. Make love, not babies.